Chapter 2. I landed in the middle of the town and glanced around. It looks different from the cartoon. Everything is bigger and the town expands out more than the cartoon showed it. The town is painfully colorful, but I think I can get used to it. Some ponies were looking at me weird and whispering to each other. Must be the clothes. A small filly walks up to me and looks me over.
What's wrong with your coat, mister?
Before I can reply, a mare walked up and pushed the small filly away.
I thought I told you not to speak to strangers, especially strange ponies.
I look at the mare and filly walking away. What does she mean, strange ponies? My clothes must have that effect on them or something. I started walking down the street, towards a large tree that had been hollowed out and had a building put inside of it. Once I reached the door, I raised a hoof and prepared to knock on it. But before I could, the door opened and a small baby dragon stood there with his back turned towards me as he yelled into the house. "Okay, Twilight, I'll hurry." He turned back around to see me in front of him. The baby dragon did a double take and backed up a few feet. "Wow, I've never seen a pony like you before." I looked at him in confusion. I thought I looked like any other pony.
What do you mean, I look like any other pony here?
He looked me over. "Well, unless you're a zebra, then no, you do not look like any pony I know."
What?
I was still confused over what he was saying. He looked like he was getting annoyed, though. "You have stripes like a zebra all over your body, but you're a Pegasus." Stripes? That's odd. Why would I have stripes?
Well,
Come on, think of an explanation.
my mom was a Pegasus, and my dad was a zebra, so I got the stripes from my dad.
That's actually pretty believable. Good job, Lance. He seemed to consider what I said. "That's interesting. Twilight would love to know more about you. If I was you, I would turn and run now, or you'll be here for hours answering her questions, which will be boring for all of us but her." I weighed my options. Stay and try to become friends with her, or make it easy and run. My mind was made up for me.
Spike, who are you talking to?
A purple mare came down the stairs and looked at the door where I and Spike stood. She did a double take like Spike did.
Wow, what are you?
I cleared my throat, which I don't know why I did.
I am Girocon. I just arrived here in town a few minutes ago.
She came down the rest of the stairs and walked to the door.
Why do you have stripes like a zebra all over your body? That's strange. And why are you wearing those clothes? They look depressing.
I smiled at the last comment.
Well, like I told Spike, my dad was a zebra and my mom was a Pegasus. And for your second question, I'm a retired guard, so I choose to wear those clothes.
She stepped aside and let me in. I walked past her and into the house, which was the town's library. Twilight closed the door behind me.
A retired guard? Why did you retire?
I turned towards her and she turns her head swiftly to the side, like she was looking at something she wasn't supposed to.
Well, I just didn't feel up to the job and decided to move here to this small town.
I'm too good at lying on the spot. Good thing, though. She shook her head up and down slowly and considered what I said.
How long were you a guard?
A few years, but I got bored and moved on.
I see.
She walked over to a couch and sat down.
Come and take a seat. I have more questions to ask.
I walked over and sat down on the couch with her. I thought it would be hard to sit as a pony, but it was actually easy to do. It felt normal.
Okay, Girocon.
Please, call me Giro.
I interrupted her.
Sorry, Giro. As I was saying, can you tell me more about your appearance?
I thought for a second for an answer.
Well, aside from the stripes and clothes, the goggles are for flight mostly. I'm sorry, but that's all I can think of to say.
Well, that would explain your wings. I've never seen wings like that before.
My wings? I looked back at my wings and extended them a little. Then I noticed that they looked different. They had a red thing going along the top part of them.
Are those from the Royal Guard, or one of the branches?
She asked, trying to figure it out. That sounds good. Let's go with that.
Yes, I was able to keep them. If you know what they are, why ask?
I just thought that they were from the Royal Guard.
Damn, I thought she knew. This better not come back to haunt me.
Any other questions?
I asked, trying to change the subject.
I can't think of anything else to ask at this moment.
She said, deep in thought. Thanks, Celestia. I thought she would keep asking questions forever. She looked over to Spike, who was still there.
Spike, can you go get the fillies? I want them to meet Giro.
He jumped up. Sure thing, Twilight, he said as he ran out the door. Twilight looked back at me.
Do you have a place to stay since you're new in town?
I thought for a second. I hadn't thought of that until just now.
No. I don't know any pony here in town.
She shook her head as if she was still in thought.
Well, once every pony gets here, we can find you a place till you can get a place of your own.
Thanks, Twilight.
I looked around at all the books on the shelves. I like this place. I may have to come back here and see if she'll let me borrow a few. Twilight noticed me looking at her books and smiled.
Would you like to borrow a few books, Giro?
I looked at her. It's like she can read my mind or something.
Yes, I would. Thanks again.
She smiled, clearly happy that she'd found some pony else who enjoys books. She jumped off the couch and went to one of the shelves.
What kind of books do you like?
I don't think they have all the books I like, but maybe.
Do you have any books on flying, science, magic, and history?
She looked overjoyed.
I have all those and many, many more.
She started pulling books off the shelves and laying them out in front of me. I looked down at the books she was placing in front of me. The Book of Equestria Science, Flying and You, History and Uses of Magic, A Complete History of Equestria. She walked over and sat back down.
You can borrow all those for as long as you want, and feel free to look through the rest of them.
I looked over the books again.
Thanks, Twilight. I can't wait to read them.
Twilight looked down at my flank.
Wait, don't you have a saddlebag to carry those?
I didn't think of that either. That's probably one thing I'm going to need here.
No, I don't have one. I never bought one.
She stood up and walked out of the room. She returned a moment later, holding a saddlebag in her mouth.
Here, you can have my spare one. I have no need for it.
She placed it in front of me.
Thanks.
I stood and looked at her.
Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me.
She looked around nervously.
Well,
She began to look like she was going to pass out.
Are you okay? You look sick.
She looked at me and smiled.
I'm okay, just, a little tired.
I shook my head in an understanding fashion.
I see. You should rest more at night, because, let me guess, you'll stay up all night reading.
She laughed.
Yeah, I do tend to stay up late reading.
Before I could say anything else, the door opened and 5 mares and Spike walked in. Rainbow Dash looked at me. "Hey, you're the Pegasus who was impressed by me," she smiled proudly. Applejack looked me over.
What are y'all supposed to be? I ain't never seen a pony like you before.
Pinkie Pie bounced around every pony. She said at an impossible speed, then ran out the door. Rarity watched Pinkie Pie leave and then turned to me.
"I do say he's quite the sight, and his clothes, they are, how do I say this, depressing."
Fluttershy remained silent. I looked at all of them.
Well, to start off, my name is Garocon, but you can call me Giro. As for why I have stripes...
Twilight interrupted me.
His mom was a Pegasus and his dad was a zebra. He's a retired royal guard, and he chose to wear those clothes, maybe because he wore them in the guard.
I was happy she explained it for me. I was getting pretty tired of explaining it to every pony. Rarity looked at my goggles. "Why does he wear those goggles? I mean, he can take them off since we're inside."
Oh, they're just to keep the wind out of my eyes when I fly.
I reached up to take them off, but once I pulled them down, every pony in the room jumped back and gasped. Fluttershy screamed slightly and hid behind her mane. I looked at them. What's going on here?
What is it? Did I do something?
Twilight looked at me.
Your eyes, they're...
She levitated a mirror up to my face. I almost jumped back at the sight of my eyes. They were blood red and had the pupil of a snake, with lines going out all around it. Wow, I look scary, but awesome.
"What's wrong with them? They look weird but cool."
Asked Rainbow Dash, still looking at my eyes with a gleam in her own. Come on, Lance, think!
My eyes? No pony knows, but doctors say it came from my dad. I don't know how, though. That's the main reason I wear those goggles.
Smooth, Lance. Very good. Twilight pondered this.
I can fix them if you would like.
I thought about it, but decided against it.
No, it's okay. I like them. I held them too long to part with them.
Fluttershy looked out from behind her mane.
I've only seen those kinds of eyes on snakes or dragons, but yours look different from those.
She said in a small voice. I put the goggles back on my face and looked at them.
I know they're scary. I'll leave the goggles on if you all want me to.
Rainbow Dash moved forward.
"Leave them off. Those eyes are awesome. I wouldn't mind having eyes like that.
I'll leave them on. I don't want to scare other ponies.
Applejack turned.
Well, I need to get back to my farm. Big Mac must already bucked half the trees by now.
Twilight's head snapped up like she just remembered something important.
I almost forgot. Giro needs a place to stay. Does anybody know a place for him?
Applejack stopped at the door on her way out.
We have a spare room at the farm. You can stay there.
Twilight looked a bit disappointed.
Yeah, that would work. What do you say, Giro?
I thought about the idea of sleeping at the farm. I've had experience with farms before, thanks to my grandfather, who owned a farm. When I stayed there, they made me wake up very early every morning. It was horrible.
Sorry, but no. I don't like farms that much.
Twilight perked up at that.
Well, if you don't want to stay at Applejack's farm, you can stay here. I have a spare room next to mine.
Stay at a library and have all the books to read, or go somewhere else. Well, since I already know Twilight more than the others, might as well just stay here.
Okay, I'll stay here, I guess.
Twilight looked like she was about to jump up and down with joy.
That's great. I mean, you can stay as long as you want, Giro.
Fluttershy was slowly inching her way towards the door that Applejack had left open when she left. I looked at her and almost laughed.
Where are you going, Fluttershy?
She jumped.
Oh, I need to...
She ran out the door.
What's with her?
I asked every pony. Rainbow Dash walked up next to me.
Oh, she's probably just scared of your eyes.
She snickered.
But I think your eyes are cool. You should come hang out at my place sometime.
That could be fun. I could learn more about her than the show presents.
I may.
Rarity walked up and looked me over again.
You really should think about changing your appearance, or not wear anything, because those clothes, darling, are not very appealing.
I looked back at my clothes and laughed.
Well, I like them. I'll just keep them.
Rainbow Dash looked me over again.
Come on, Rarity, I think you look pretty cool in them.
She bumped my side with her flank. Twilight looked a bit angry.
Rainbow Dash, I think you should go help Pinky with the party.
Rainbow looked at her.
Why? I think she can handle it.
You can help her put out the banner, then help set out the rest of the party.
Rainbow Dash looked a bit unhappy.
Fine.
She said towards the door.
We'll talk more at the party, Giro.
Rarity started moving towards the door as well.
Oh, I almost forgot. I have to get back and fill out the rest of the orders for the day.
After every pony left, Twilight looked up at me.
Would you like to see your room, Giro?
I looked over at her.
Sure, just lead the way.
She led me up the stairs and to two doors, side by side.
The one on the right is my room, and the room on your left is yours. Feel free to check out your room.
I walked to the door on the left and opened it. I'm still surprised at how easy it is to use my hooves to do things. Once I'd stepped into the room, I took everything in. There was a two pony bed in the corner, a desk and a bookshelf. The room was fairly small in size, but big enough for me to move around easily. Twilight walked in behind me.
So, what do you think?
I looked back at her.
I like it, thanks.
I walked out past her.
I'm gonna go get those books you showed me.
Okay, you'll have time to read one. The party won't be for at least a few hours.
I walked downstairs and put the books in the saddlebag she gave me, and then put it back on. It felt like wearing a backpack, but on your ass. When I walked back up to my room, Twilight was still there. I looked at her.
Thanks again for your help, Twilight.
She turned her head away from me, which I'm not entirely sure why she did.
Oh, it was nothing. I'll leave and let you
Get settled in. Okay, just come get me when it's time to go to the party.
She left the room slowly and closed the door behind her. I put the saddlebag on the desk and pulled out one of the books, Flying and You. Figure I should start with learning how to fly since I'm a Pegasus. I laid back on the bed and held the book in front of me, which came pretty naturally. Twilight stood outside the door thinking.
Am I falling for Giro? I don't even know him.
She blushed and turned to go to her room. Time to get ready for the party. And that's the chapter.
Yeah.
Yay!
Drop it.